Sophia, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Good
Hi.
afternoon. And here we are.
We are
finally
here
with this verdict that maybe we thought was coming yesterday, but it came this afternoon. Yes.
Okay, so let's take it back a bit so that we can give some people some information about how this whole process went. So Diddy faced 5 federal charges, which began May 2025 in Manhattan. 1 racketeering conspiracy, 2 counts of sex trafficking, and 2 counts on transporting individuals for prostitution under the Mann Act, stemming from allegations of coercion, drug-fueled parties known as freak-off. So let's talk about this now. He's been on this for weeks with 34 individuals testifying, his ex-girlfriend Cassie Ventura, a male escort, former employees, and rapper Kid Cudi as well. So you've been following this case all this while, and now the verdict is here. But what do you think led to this verdict that we've seen come out today?
Well, the verdict came quite quickly. Actually, yesterday we were told we had the partial verdict. Today we have the full verdict. And I think actually the longer a verdict takes, I think you're probably moving towards an acquittal. So I think yesterday when we got the partial verdict, it kind of told us that yes, he was going to be convicted of something. But you're absolutely right in saying that since May, since this trial started, we have had some truly disturbing and stunning testimony, first of all, from Cassie Ventura, a singer in her own right, Diddy's ex-girlfriend, who talked about the free costs, but also the abuse that she had endured during her relationships. She took the stand heavily pregnant, so pregnant, in fact, that she gave birth just 1 week after she was in court talking about all these things that had happened to her. And let's remember as well that without Cassie Ventura, we would not be here in the first place.
Exactly.
It was that video that CNN obtained of her being dragged down the hallway and brutally beaten by P. Diddy, which is the reason why prosecutors took him to court in the first place. So we have to credit Cassie Ventura and her legal team with bringing us to this point where P. Diddy has been convicted of federal crimes. But we had her stunning testimony on the stand. We also heard from her mother, who talked about things that her daughter had gone through. And then we heard from Jane, this anonymous person, we don't know who it was, but talks about her relationship with P. Diddy and actually how it very much mirrored what Cassie Ventura had gone through also. And in between that, we heard from male escorts, and it was the Kid Cudi story and everything else in between during these weeks, outlining the free call, the sexual persuasion of P. Diddy, the sex trafficking that had gone on, talking about things that could have been racketeering, but as we know from the verdict, couldn't be proven beyond a reasonable doubt that racketeering took place. And we know that those RICO charges, RICO stands for Racketeer Influenced and Corrupt Organizations Law. It's very, very hard to prove. It was a law that was actually, created to convict people like the mafia, who have these huge criminal enterprises that are doing a huge organization of crime with many different levels, many different people, many different layers. Very, very difficult to prove. That's the one the jury was stuck on yesterday. And actually, the RICO charge didn't stick. So the racketeering, he was found not guilty.
Interesting. Now, looking at the 2 charges which he was found guilty of, and these ones have 10 years, jail time, if we look at both of them, and the others that could have, sent him to jail for life, he wasn't guilty of these ones. But looking at these 2, do you think they did justice to the situation as regards, him being guilty of these 2 charges that he was accused of?
I mean, let's go through the 5 charges. So there was the count 1 of racketeering conspiracy, of which he was found not guilty. There was the count 2 of sex trafficking by force, fraud, or coercion, and that pertains to Cassie Ventura, found not guilty. And he was also found not guilty of sex trafficking by force, fraud, or coercion, and that pertains to victim 2, which was Jane, so not guilty. Now, the ones he was found guilty of, that's transportation to engage in prostitution, which pertains to victim 1, Cassie, and then the same charge, which pertains to victim 2, Jane, as well as commercial sex workers. So those 2 charges, transportation to engage in prostitution for Jane, Cassie, and other sex workers, 10-year sentences. That's the maximum that both of those charges can get. Now, it's been asked that those sentences will run concurrently, but we do not know what the sentence will be. Sentence hasn't been handed down yet. So at the moment, Diddy's defendant team, Diddy's legal team rather, are asking that he be freed before the sentencing. Now, letters are going into the judge up until 1 p.m. today, and he's going to decide if Diddy gets to go back to his Miami Island or else does he stay in this institution. You asked me if I think justice has been done in this case. Do I think that justice has been served pertaining to the charges? I'm not the judge, I'm not the jury. It was the jury's job to try and prove beyond a reasonable doubt the racketeering had taken place, the sex trafficking had taken place, the transportation to engage in prostitution had taken place. Now, just because it couldn't be proven beyond a reasonable doubt doesn't mean that it didn't happen. It just means that it couldn't get to a certain level of being proven that the jury needs to be able to convict. What is clear is, we saw the videos of Cassie being brutally beaten and dragged up and down the hallway. There was also text messages between Diddy and Cassie and Diddy and other people. We have seen and we have heard a lot since this trial started in May. What I will say is, I wonder how Jane is feeling. I wonder how Cassie is feeling. I wonder how other victims are feeling at this time. We have had a statement actually from Cassie Ventura's lawyer, and I'll just read a bit of it now, saying that Cassie paved the way for a jury to find Sean Diddy Combs guilty on some of the counts against him, saying, this is Doug Wigdor, saying the entire criminal process started when our client Cassie Ventura had the courage to file her civil complaint in November 2023. Although the jury did not find Combs guilty of sex trafficking Cassie beyond a reasonable doubt, she paved the way for a jury to find him guilty of transportation to engage in prostitution. By coming forward with her experience, Cassie has left an indelible mark on both the entertainment industry and the fight for justice. Wigdor also said that Cassie showed exemplary courage through this trial and brought attention to the realities of powerful men in our orbit and the misconduct that has persisted for decades without repercussion. A very powerful statement and very, very true words, because even though certain charges weren't proved beyond a reasonable doubt, some charges were, and so he was brought to justice and has been convicted of federal crimes.
Okay, so Afia, we this information just came out, and people are still trying to understand the what led to this verdict that we've seen so far. It's been an intense couple of weeks, and with bail not being decided or sentencing yet, do you think there's a possibility that when these sentences come out and all that Diddy could appeal the case? Is there a possibility that could happen, or what would happen next after that?
I mean, there is a possibility that Diddy might decide to appeal the charges against him. He might decide that it's unfair and actually he's innocent of everything, and that's up to him and his legal team to make the decision if they feel if that's best. So yes, he could. I think it really depends on the sentence. Remember, he has served some time in prison already, and that will be taken into account when the judge is deciding on the sentence. But yes, Diddy could decide actually to appeal this case. There is also the route that he could go down of appealing this case. You might have other people who might decide to bring more civil cases against him as well. A prosecution, which has happened here, even though it's not on all 5 charges, he still has been prosecuted in 2. I think there is a certain camp that will feel that, you know, Diddy has been let off and because he didn't get charged of the most serious charges.
Yeah.
But there is a certain camp who will feel that this is a win, because to try and make charges stick against someone who is so powerful, so famous, so influential in the music industry is very, very difficult. And the fact that that has happened is a real turning point.
Interesting. So, Afia, because I like the conversation you brought up earlier, that there's a camp who would say, oh, yeah, he would have gotten more against him. And there's the other one who would say, yeah, because there was no evidence, no actual evidence to some of the charges he was, you know, convicted for. That's why he was let off. So looking at it from, we have a lot of people talking about this on social media already. We have reactions from various celebrities. And one of them, 50 Cent, who has always been back on this issue back to back, he posted on social media, he said, Diddy beat the feds. That boy is bad. Best beat the RICO, you know, and this is from 50 Cent. Because he as well has also been following this case and been talking about how he knew 50 Cent and he knew the kind of things he did as an individual. So do you think, what do you think about this reaction from 50 Cent as regards the verdict?
I mean, 50 Cent is so controversial, right? And he always has something to say. And I think we can expect him to say more over the course of the next few days and weeks as people are getting their heads around the verdict and what has happened. But he's right, you know, he beat the RICO charges and those were the most serious ones.
Interesting. So this has been a huge major conversation in the entertainment industry, and people have been waiting for this to happen. And it's like you said, there's a possibility he might appeal. But looking at it so far, you made mention about how the people who were involved would feel. And seeing what happened as the result of the case. So someone like Cassie, her family, her mom, who actually came out there to you know, take the stand. It might be a bit, you know, dicey for these people after this outcome. What do you think?
Yes, I mean, Cassie and her mother, they must feel a sense of disappointment that Diddy was not convicted on all charges, but also must feel a sense of relief that he was convicted of some. You know, it's a no-win, and it's like a no-lose as well. You know, he hasn't been convicted of everything, but he has been convicted of something, and also he wasn't completely acquitted of everything either. I think if he had been, that would have been incredibly disappointing for them. But because he has been convicted on 2 charges, one of which was relating to her, it's a partial victory for them, absolutely. I don't think they will be too disappointed in that. There might be a little bit of a sense of disappointment that he wasn't convicted on all charges, but I think the fact that he was convicted of some is very, very significant, and they will have a sense of being pleased about that, but also, like Cassie's lawyer said, a sense of pride about that as well, because like he so rightly said, and you know, I think we should always remind people that without Cassie filing her civil lawsuit that she did in 2023, November 2023, without her doing that, then, you know, we wouldn't be here at all. And so it's incredible actually that she did that.
So speaking about Cassie, because I went online to, you know, check about some conversations regarding the case and how it affected, since she was the major reason why this whole thing came to limelight. People were still talking about the fact that she was settled off that issue, and she still brought it to court to talk about it, and the video was still played. So don't you think from the conversation of other people, they feel that she was settled already? Why did she have to bring it back to court and, you know, to blow it up in this case as it may? What do you think about that?
Because crimes were committed. It's that simple. Crimes were committed. She knew that. And yes, she had settled in a civil case, but that doesn't really have anything to do with the criminal case.
Okay.
And she took the time to do her healing and be able to be courageous enough to go to the police and for them to pull a case together to press federal charges.
Okay.
I think, you know, it's that simple. Yes, she benefited from the civil case, and so she should for what she went through, but crimes were committed. And it's not always when something happens to someone that immediately they go to the police, especially in crimes of this nature, of sexual violence. It's very, very difficult for survivors. Very, very difficult. And so she was incredibly courageous in deciding when she did that crimes were committed, and actually it would be beneficial, not just for her, but for everybody involved, everybody who suffered in the way that she did, to go to the police and to come forward and say, look, this happened to me. I know it happens to other people. Now is the time that someone should be held accountable, and that someone is Sean Combs.
So, given the case as it is, do you think this would serve as an example for the industry at large, for people who, you know, for people in power using that power wrongly to coerce and things? Do you think this will serve as a positive impact in the entertainment industry?
I really don't know. You know, there might be people who are sitting there thinking, gosh, you know, we can get away with some things and we can't get away with others. Do I hope it means that people will be better behaved in the music industry? Yes, I do. Do I think they will be? No, I don't. I think we're kind of, especially in the United States, I mean, this kind of post-Me Too era, they have a president which, you know, is ruling in this post-Me Too era. And so, you know, power always wins, and power is the thing that keeps people in check. And so do I think it will make a change to the music industry? Not really. But I don't think we will see P. Diddy dominating the industry in the way that we did before. He certainly won't be at liberty to do so, potentially after his sentence. And let's remember, the video still exists. We have seen it in black and white of him brutally beating Cassie and dragging her up and down the hallway. And that is very, very, very damaging to his career, as are these two federal charges against him. And so I don't think he will necessarily go back to releasing albums and doing the Diddy shake. And so, yes, and I whether it will change the music industry, I don't know. We thought maybe the R. Kelly case might change the music industry, and I'm not sure that it did. And I'm not sure this one will either.
All right. Thank you very much, Afia, for talking to us regarding this. And as it is, it's still not the end, because we're definitely going to see if there would be an appeal or a sentencing when that comes out. We can find out. I will definitely come back to talk about it as well, to give more update on this. Thank you for talking to us, Afia.